Let's now return to the presentation. Now we'll discuss the basic commands that you can perform in the terminal. If you use the command line, some of them are performed relatively often, even for simple operations, so it's good to know them. The cd command, change directory, is used to change the current directory. The syntax is simple: cd directory name or path name. The name can be expressed as an absolute path name, starting from the root directory. We recall from the previous section, this is /. This is the complete path relative to root directory. If you type the command cd/home/boing, the system will go to the home directory, and then the user-specific directory. In this case, boing is the username. You can also express the path as the local path name. If the path name does not begin with /, it's taken as a local path name. It means that this location is expressed in relation to the current directory. Now let's examine the difference between the two ways of expressing path name. This command uses a local path name, so you'll be directed to the Documents folder, which is located in the current directory. Now, if you type this command, the system will notify that there is no such directory, because you have entered an absolute path name. The system will look for a location in the root directory, and there is no Documents folder there. This directory is located in the user-specific folder. The tilde in the terminal means it's your home directory. Therefore, the absolute path name to the Documents directory is as follows. Home is by default the catalog where the user directories are located. Then username, which is in fact the current directory. And at the end, you enter the name of the final directory, that is, Documents. Only now will the system switch you to the selected catalog. It's important to know the difference between local and absolute path names. The same principle will apply to other commands. This is why you have to take notice whether a file is located in a directory relative to your current one or not. If you forget the difference between the two, the system won't be able to find the file. In scripts, it's especially important to always use absolute path names. It ensures that the operation you want to perform will be performed at the desired time. You need to be sure that the script will find the directory you need it to find. There are some commands related to cd. For example, cd ... takes you to the parent directory. In Linux, a single dot always represents the current directory, whereas two consecutive dots represent the parent directory. As already mentioned, tilde represents your home directory. Interestingly, you can execute the command cd tilde. This will take you to your home directory immediately. Most Linux distributions also have a cd hotkey, which takes you to the home directory of the user. If you want to return to the parent directory, you must be careful not to use the command in the presented form. There always have to be a space between dots and the command. Very few Linux distributions would recognize the command in the above form. Fedora won't. Without this space, it will be read as a completely different command. This is not the case in Windows. If you open the command line and type cd ... with or without the space, you'll be directed to a parent directory anyway. In Linux, when there's no space between the string of characters, it's read as a single command. You should also pay attention to the tilde, which we mentioned in connection with the home directory. In Windows, to type tilde, you need to press the Shift plus the key above Tab, plus some random key. Only then will Windows display a tilde. In Linux, it's much less complicated. The tilde is used very often, and that's why it's easy to type. Special characters such as tilde and dot dot can be used as parts of paths. For example, if you're in the Documents directory and you want to go to the Home directory, you can type either cd dot dot or cd tilde. Both commands will take you to the Home directory. If you're in the Documents folder and you want to go to the Desktop directory, which is the subdirectory of the Documents directory, you can enter the command cd /desktop. This will make the system go to the parent directory first, and then to the desktop folder located there. The effect is the same as if you typed the absolute path name, that is, cd/home/boing/desktop. It will take you to the very same directory. However, when you're in the Documents folder, typing the command cd desktop won't work, because in the Documents folder, there is no catalog called desktop. When you want to type a path name, you can also use the current directory alias, that is, a single dot. In our case, cd documents is equivalent to cd./documents. The second command follows the path to the Documents catalog through the current directory. If you want to jump to another category, using dot as an alias for the current directory is not very useful, but it's essential when you execute other commands, because whenever you want to execute a command from the current directory, you have to specify it. The RM is used to remove files and catalogs. If you want to use this command to delete a catalog, you have to use the -R option flag, which runs the command recursively. Without this flag, the system will notify you that you're about to delete a catalog, and it won't execute this command. The -F flag means force. This is relatively dangerous. As the root user, you should never execute the command rm-rf/, because it would delete every file on every mounted drive. As we discussed in the first part of this course, Linux assumes that you know what you're doing. If the system administrator types a command, the system will execute it, even if it's a command that will wipe out the hard drive. And that's exactly what the rm-rf/ command will do. mkdir creates a new directory. If you type mkdir, catalog name, all directories that you type in the path name must already exist. If you add the -p flag to the mkdir command, it will create every directory you specify in the path name. Let's see in practice what's the difference between these commands. If you type mkdir alice, it will create a catalog called alice in the current directory. You can then open it. Right away, we can also try the rm command. If you tried to remove the directory called Alice, the computer will report an error, because Alice is your current directory now. As we've said, you need to add the -R flag. The system has removed the directory. You can also use an absolute pathway as an mkdir command parameter. When you type in the above command, a directory called Alice will be created. However, if you try to execute the second command shown in the console, the system will report an error, because the catalog alice2 is to be created in the directory alice1, which doesn't yet exist. The system will not let you do this. To create the catalog alice2, you must first go to alice1, which is located in the user's home directory. Unfortunately, this directory does not exist either. We can fix this using the aforementioned flag -p. The system will then create all the missing directories in that path name. Please note the slashes, a very common mistake of Windows users who start using the command line, or even a desktop environment on Linux, is typing the commands in the following form. In Windows systems, you use backslashes. Linux recognizes forward slashes. Let's see what happens if you create a directory using the command in the form you can see above. We'll now use the command which lists information about the files in the current directory. You'll notice that a catalog called Alice3 has been created. The backslash is a special character in Linux. This is a kind of keyword which, for example, eliminates spaces from file names. If you'd like to create a catalog with a space in the name, the system will actually create two catalogs. The command reads these two words as an instruction to create two distinct catalogs. However, if you write the command as you see it above, the system will create one catalog with a space in the name. Backslash tells the system to read the space literally, and not just as a separator between two parameters of the mkdir command. It's important to remember this. These are common mistakes resulting from inherent differences between Windows and Linux systems. These differences can have surprising consequences.